Hi guys, and welcome to the Family Fudge. I'm Jennifer, and today on Thrifty Thursday, we're talking about freezing food. Freezing food can save you money by not only cutting down on waste, but it also gives you the ability to stock up on things when they're on sale. So today I'm sharing my top 5 things that I always freeze, and these things definitely save me time and money, so stay tuned. So as I'm going through this list, I'm also going to be sharing with you my tips on how I store the food, how long I store it for, and the best way I think to reheat it. Now before we get started, if you're not subscribed already, please hit that red subscribe button because I like to share money-saving tips as often as I can. Now, the first thing on my always freeze list is bread and other baked goods. I can often find really good prices on things like sandwich bread, tortillas, rolls, and buns at Costco. But because my husband actually avoids wheat as much as he can, we don't tend to go through those things super fast. So if we don't freeze them, they're probably gonna go bad. For items like pre-sliced loaves of bread, tortillas, buns, and rolls, I will just throw the entire bag into the freezer. For things like Costco muffins or croissants, or whole loaves of bread, I will actually take them out of their original packaging and put them in a freezer bag. Now as a guideline, I usually only buy enough bread to last between 2 weeks and a month. That way it's not taking up a ton of space in my freezer and I avoid freezer burn. Now when we want to eat the bread, I'll actually take it out of the freezer and place it on the counter and then let it defrost completely before we eat it. Another good tip is to take these things and put them in the toaster oven for just a few minutes, and this will give them a fresh out of the oven taste. The second thing that I always freeze now is milk. Now I have to say I was a little bit skeptical about this at first, but so many of you guys suggested I give it a try, and I did. And let me just say, it works really well. I haven't had any issues. I like to buy the double packs of milk at Costco. And when I get home, I put one directly into the freezer. Did you guys know that these little indentations on the side of the milk actually allow for expansion as they freeze? Now usually I only keep my milk in the freezer for about a month because that's about how fast we go through it. But according to eatitbydate.com, you can actually keep your milk in the freezer for up to 3 months. Now a good thing to remember is to take it out of the freezer a couple of days before you actually want to use it. That way it can defrost nice and slow, you don't have to worry about it going bad, and you definitely want to shake it up as it's defrosting. The third thing that I always freeze is cheese. Now the interesting thing about cheese is that you will see it on lists of things that you should freeze, but you'll also see it on list of things that you shouldn't freeze. And I think that's because there are many different kinds of cheeses, and some freeze well and some actually don't. Now I actually freeze things like shredded mozzarella and shredded cheddar all the time, and I've never really had any issues with doing that. But I have to say, I've never frozen things like cream cheese or cottage cheese or ricotta cheese or fancy or sort of stinky cheese, because I've read online that when you freeze those types of cheeses, they never really have the same texture as you're defrosting them. But if you guys have and you've had success, let me know in the comments down below how you freeze those cheeses, because I would definitely like to learn whether it does work or not. Like I said, I haven't actually tried it. Now at my house, we love cheese, so it doesn't usually stay in my freezer for too long. Probably only about 6 to 8 weeks, but generally if your cheese is really well sealed, you can keep it in your freezer for like 3 months. Now when we want to eat our cheese, I like to take it out of the freezer at least the day before and let it slowly defrost in the fridge. Number 4, breakfast products. I am definitely not a morning person, so if I have breakfast items that I can quickly grab from the freezer, it's definitely a lifesaver. So I like to make big batches of pancakes and waffles and muffins and breakfast sandwiches and keep them in the freezer. Now when I'm making things like pancakes and waffles and muffins, what I like to do is let them completely cool down, and then I will line them on a cookie sheet and stick them in the freezer until they are about halfway frozen. And then I can stick them in a bag, a freezer bag, and they won't stick together. When I want to reheat those things, I will just grab the bag out of the freezer, take out exactly how many I need and pop them in the toaster oven. You don't even need to defrost these at all. But I would stay away from microwaving them. I don't think they turn out very well if you microwave them. If you don't have a toaster oven, try to put them in your regular oven and then they reheat beautifully. Now my breakfast sandwiches I do a little bit differently, and I do have a video on this. I'll go ahead and link it down below if you want to check it out. But basically for breakfast sandwiches, number one, keep your layers thin. So usually I'll have meat and eggs and cheese. My egg layer is going to be very, very thin so that it can reheat more evenly in my oven or my microwave. And when I'm done building my sandwiches, I make sure to cut them in half, and this helps them reheat more evenly as well. And also you guys, for the breakfast sandwiches, I really think it's best to defrost them overnight before you reheat them. I just think they turn out a lot better that way. Now all of these breakfast foods will actually keep really well in the freezer for quite a while. But just like everything else, I don't like to keep them in there for too long. We actually rotate them quite regularly, so for me they only last about a month. Okay guys, so now I'm going to share with you the last thing on my always freeze list, and then I'm going to share with you a couple of honorable mentions. The last thing on my list is meat products. So when we find a good deal on meat, we like to stock up, but we try not to go crazy on the amount of meat that we get. Because number one, we don't want to break the budget, and number two, we don't want so much meat to take up all the room in our freezer, and we don't want so much that it's going to go bad before we use it. When we get that meat, as soon as we get home, we like to put it in freezer bags and get it directly in the freezer. One of the great ways that you can save on meat is to jump on that Zaycon Fresh bandwagon. Now, I've heard a lot on YouTube about Zaycon Fresh being quality meats for a low price, and so you guys, tomorrow I'm actually gonna go pick up my first Zaycon Fresh order. So I will let you guys know in a future video how that goes. And now for those honorable mentions. Things that I like to freeze, but I don't freeze all the time. Number one is baby food. It is a great money saver if you can make your own baby food and you know exactly what the ingredients are when you make your own. Here's what I like to do with baby food. I will blend it up like I normally would, and then I'll freeze it in an ice cube tray. That way when it comes time to feed baby, I can just pop out however many cubes of that food I need and just defrost that small portion and keep the rest in the freezer. Now generally these will stay good for a couple of months. Another thing that I love to freeze are local fresh fruits and vegetables. Where I'm from, you can get sweet corn, cherries, peaches, strawberries when they're in season. And so I like to buy a bunch of them and then freeze them myself. With all of these things, I will just wash them, cut them, lay them out on a cookie sheet and let them freeze, and then bag them up. These are great to have on hand for quick dinners or smoothies, things like that. And these will stay good in your freezer for a long time, several months. Now the last thing that I like to freeze is definitely a treat, and that is cookie dough. You make a big batch of cookie dough, and then you can drop them individually onto your cookie sheet, and then put that cookie sheet in the freezer. And once those little balls are hard, you can put them in a Ziploc bag and keep them in the freezer for a long time. That way, when you're feeling like you need a treat, you can just take out 1 or 2 or 4 little cookie balls and cook just that many in your oven, and then you can have a fresh, warm cookie at any time. But you're not making like a whole dozen cookies, and then they're not tempting you as much. Okay guys, I hope you found these tips helpful. I'm gonna go ahead and link down below a website that you can go on to find out specific information about food safety and freezer guidelines and things like that. So definitely check that out if you want more information. If you like this video, could you please give it a big thumbs up? And don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. I hope to see you next Thursday with a whole nother video on money saving tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.